What is going on? Good morning to everybody. Vernon here, representing Happy Meals, health, happiness, and everything in between. Every single day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 8:45 Eastern, 7:45 Central. Now, this week's big topic is communication and conversations. Nothing happens outside of a conversation. Absolutely nothing. A marriage, a divorce, a new deal, a bad deal, a new job, a new friendship, a new beginning, everything, whether it's external or internal conversation, if not both. But conversations are incredibly powerful. We're talking about different ways that we can start getting involved in different conversations because right now there are so many people who are really need a little pointers and maybe some guidance with conversations. And today is, if I, in my personal opinion, the most important conversation you will ever have in your entire life. Hands down, not overselling it. It's something that I can personally say that I have worked at for more than 30 plus years. Um, Again, that conversation, nothing happens outside of a conversation, but this conversation is everything that will dictate where you go, how far, who you connect with, and things like that. It's that inner conversation with yourself. And when I say conversation, I'm talking about that SOB called the inner critic, the dark specter that all of us can relate to and understand, right? That part of our brain that says, "Why did you do this? You should have." Where that shame and guilt really kick in for a lot of us. And most importantly, I want to talk about how we can handle that in different ways that I have done it and different ways that I've helped a lot of people through it. Let's pull this back and let's not even pull it back. Let's talk about it is what it is. This is your self-esteem. Your self-esteem is how you see yourself, how you behave. Well, what are you saying to make you do things, or give you the encouragement through those tough times? Because you're not going to always have people saying, "Hey, you can do it." Cheerleaders, right? And I love cheerleaders. Make no mistake. But you're not going to always have that. And when you're waking up in the morning, you're going to the bathroom, and you're looking at yourself in the mirror, there's not going to be many cheerleaders there. It's just going to be you. That man or woman in the mirror is one of the most critical conversations that you can really start adjusting, because as you have this conversation, if you make a mistake or if you're about to get your day started, that conversation will say, "Hey, you know what? If I'd have known better, I would have done better." Or that conversation could say, "You're so stupid. What's wrong with you?" And I did that, the latter part. And it's one of those things I'm not ashamed to say. I did it yesterday, and I had to wake myself up. You see, because the critic isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's when we start when the critic speaks louder than what the reality can be, or even louder than what the opportunities could be or the options could be for you. And so you need that critic because it's going to say, "Hey, don't touch that hot stove," right? Because you know what happens, you get burned. Or, "Hey, maybe you need to be more careful when you say certain things because you don't want to offend or hurt someone's feelings." It comes up in many different ways, many different varieties. But when you start noticing that critic is being more of a hindrance than a help, this is when we got to talk about this inner critic, this self-perception of you, this belief that you get caught up in the ideals, and I cannot act unless it's an ideal situation. Things have to be perfect. And again, story time. You know, Years ago, actually 2 years ago, I was running this workshop. And I'm in there with a lot of higher performers. These people, like a lot of these guys, and you know who you are. If you're watching this right now, or if you're watching this a little bit later, you know who you are. These are powerhouses. These are guys who are pulling in, guys and gals, who are pulling in, 10, 20, 30, 40, 100, $120,000 a day. And when I came in, I was doing a workshop on, breakthroughs and peak performance and things like that. I brought up this area about compassion. And then when I brought this up, everyone kind of looks at me like, "Why are you talking about emotions and feelings when we're talking about breakthroughs?" One, they go hand in hand. Two, it's an area that a lot of people don't really get caught up, really focusing on. So I asked everyone to say, "Give me all the positives of compassion. Give me all the positives." And it was a trip because everyone's like, kindness, caring. These aren't the exact words, but I'm just kind of teasing it out. Giving grace, giving more patience, giving understanding, letting them know that things are going to be okay, empathy. Everyone's saying all these things. And I was like, "All right, good. Throw your hands up if you got a definition." Again, and everyone's just going at it. It was really funny because I'm like, "I thought you guys didn't want to talk about emotions, right?" And, we all started had a big laugh. And then I said, "All right, everybody put their hands down." And like, "Okay, cool." I said, "By show of hands here, Who knows what compassion is? Everyone hands go back up. I was like, keep them up if they apply. And then I said to them, when was the last time you showed yourself some compassion? And then slowly you start seeing this. And you see someone go up, and I said, no. By all the definitions that we have said, when was the last time any of you have given yourself that same grace, that same patience, that same understanding, that same empathy, that same just, kindness, how you talk to a best friend? When was the last time you all did that? And everyone looked at me like, who the F does this guy think he is? And, as they bring their hands down. And I was talking with him about the critic. And I said, this critic will rob you of everything if you let it. But one of the first things you have to do is you got to give yourself that space to be a human being. Now, I know a lot of people don't want to talk about emotions about this, but guess what? If you didn't have this critic, gnarling in your head, in your ear, and telling you how good you aren't or getting after you, many of us wouldn't even be bothered by so many things that happened today. Because you wouldn't be thinking about the things you did last week or 6 years ago or what happened, 20, 30 years ago. You wouldn't be bothered by that. So I was talking with him about the breakthroughs, about different ways you can have, these breakthroughs. And it starts with you recognizing that you're a human being. That critic is a beast. Believe me, it will keep you on your knees. It will cripple you. It will cause so much anxiety. But you have to understand that when you are ready to move forward with things and have more conversations, that inner critic conversation will get in your way. And the first step is recognizing that you're a human being, not the ideals of like a meta or superhuman being. Not the ideal. That's where that critic likes to live in. It likes to live in those ideals of what should be. And I've talked to you about being shooting on yourself. The critic loves environments like that. And it's, and I heard it put this way. When you start looking at ideals and you're shooting yourself, it's like comparing yourself to a horizon, right? And you never get close to a horizon. As you go, if you're driving really, really fast, guess what? The horizon goes just as fast. Just as fast. And so sometimes it's nice to have an ideal, right? It's nice to have this as extreme perfection. But where you are, there is definitely some area to fill in here. And what can happen with the critic is sometimes it doesn't have the critic tends to have more of a linear understanding of progress more than a well-rounded example of progress. And, I should have had a piece of paper here. But again, moving on, because the critic just spoke up. He called it like I should have. But in my best interest, it would have been nice to have a piece of paper, but I can do this right now. Whenever things happen in life, the critic loves when you're doing good, right? You're climbing up, you're climbing up, you're climbing up. But all of a sudden, life shows up. Maybe you don't make as much progress one day. Maybe things don't go your way. But if you notice, as we are going down, we're still making progress. See, the critic doesn't see that. What the critic sees is a descent, but it doesn't realize that it's still moving forward. And as all of us are here practicing doing different things, we're still making progress. No, it might not be as, on an incline as we would like, but it's still making progress. Even if you're not even moving forward, that's still progress. Why? Because you didn't go back. And if you did, guess what? You'll know better next time and you move forward faster. When you start approaching things like, hey, I might not have hit a 10 today, but I got a 6. So that's only 4 left. All right, what can I do better tomorrow? Or how can I make up for this? Or what are some different ways I can get a 6.5 out of it versus going to immediate 10? When you start looking at it, that you're filling a gap, or filling a gap or taking up some space, taking up the remaining space, and you just have that little bit more to do, all of a sudden the critic becomes more powerless. The critic's always looking for what's wrong. And I'm saying these things to you. Sure, you might have heard these things before. Sure, you may have never heard things like this before. But the critic detests and cannot thrive in an environment that's more positive. It cannot. At first you might say, well, yes, it can. Yes, it can. You don't know me. Well, when's the last time you went to Disney and you were so bothered or so in your head about things? Sure, it's going to come up because you think about general safety, but you just focused on fun. The critic loves inaction. It loves busy. It despises productive and positive. It despises that. So for a lot of us right now who are wanting to have more conversations, a big place I challenge you all to look at is, what are you saying to yourself? How are you approaching yourself? How do you handle defeats and setbacks? I was speaking with a lady the other day about this, and one of the many things I love about our relationship is how open we can be about some things when things don't go our way. We're very honest with each other when the critic speaks to both of us, but it's what we are saying to ourselves and what we remind ourselves of that really make that critic just kind of be more of a joke. She reminded me, like, look how far you've come. I reminded her, look how far she's come. But when you have these sorts of, conversations, and it does help to have someone who can be a cheerleader to honestly reflect reality. That's what a cheerleader is, in my opinion. It's not that they're lying to you; they're just reflecting reality. The critic will take, oh my gosh, you burned the eggs, to, I cannot believe you are a failure. Why did Costco even create those pans? I can't believe you just wasted so many money. It was so much money. How many hours did you have to work for pay for that? That's what a critic does. The reality of it is, especially when you can practice being your own booster, or maybe you have an external booster to shut that critic up, is you realize it's just burned eggs. No, you're not happy about it. No, you cannot eat those. But guess what? Wash the pan out and go about your business. Remember, the critic loves busy. It doesn't love productive. Busy is lets me complain about why Costco made those pots and pans. Productive is, man, I'm so happy they made great pans that nothing sticks. So this it never happened. Garbage disposal beyond water, done. So for you all, and I know I'm kind of speeding through this just because, being respectful of time, but listen to what that critic is saying to you. Is it true? Is it accurate? And a great, amazing quote that I got from a friend and mentor of mine, Tony G. And I believe that was his mentor. Tony, please jump in if I'm wrong here, but never accept a belief that does not empower you. Don't. It takes practice, but those are the words I want you all to close out on and think about as you focus on having more business conversations, more conversations with yourself, more conversation with a partner, loved one, or friend. Never accept the belief that does not empower you. Go out there, shut that inner critic up by being more productive and being more positive. I will see y'all tomorrow, 7:45 Central, 8:45 Eastern. See you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Oh, and by the way, go to happymilldiet.com and go get your free cookbooks. Happy holidays. You're going to love it. I created this. I made a lot of these recipes. Some of those recipes are really good. I didn't make them, but I tasted them because guess what? Vernon gets tired of cooking. Go check that out. happymilldiet.com. I'm going to see you all tomorrow.